Welcome to Dulcimerica.
Hi everybody, welcome to Dulcimerica. My name is bingfutch and I am going to be working with you today on a poor wayfaring stranger. It goes by lots of names, Wayfaring Stranger, I Am a Poor Wayfaring Stranger, but it's an old gospel song. It's a traditional tune, a lot of people love it, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it today. But first, and I want to mention that you can go to the comments, not the comments section, but the video description on this episode and go to Patreon and download the tablature and a lot of really, really deep explanations of what's happening inside the tune straight from that page. So if you want to pause this, download that and come on back. You'll have the resource materials right there in front of you and we can have some fun with that. Speaking of patrons, I want to go ahead and say right now a big shout out to Kathy Wilson for being one of my patrons. Thank you, Kathy, so much. You help make programs like this possible and also the instruction that comes along with it. So I thank you and I thank all of my patrons for being a part of my art every single day. If you guys are wondering what Patreon is, basically it's a subscription service for my music, my video, tablature, all that stuff. Once you sign up at $5 a month, you can get everything that I've ever produced, plus everything that I produce every single week. If you want to find out more about it, go to patreon.com/bingfutch. Check out the open house section in the featured tags area, download to your heart's content, and consider becoming a part of my art as well. Kathy, again, thank you very much. Now, hopefully you've paused this thing and you have gotten all of your resource materials in front of you like I do now. I can't really see them, I'm blind as a bat, but it'll help me to guide you through some of the stuff that's happening in this piece. First of all, we are capoed at the first fret, and that's going to put us in the key of E minor, and we are in DAD tuning. So we're starting off with a nice E5 on that first open chord. So take a look at the music, and the first thing I want you to notice as we are getting into this is that I do a little chord movement before I actually get into playing the tune. So you'll look down there and you'll see we have E minor as our first chord, and in the second measure you'll see an F sharp minor 7/E, and you might be wondering what that's all about. Basically, there's a neat little thing you can do here when you are capoed at the first fret and playing an E minor, And that involves playing these little partial chords here. I've got my index finger on the middle string, my middle finger on the melody string, and starting at the 6th fret and the 5th fret, if I keep my fingers that same spacing apart, I can walk them down and get some really nice parallel harmonies for the key of E minor. Doesn't take a lot of work, and it sounds really, really super cool. So that's basically what I'm doing at the entry there. And what I wanted to show you is exactly what we're playing. So of course we start off with E minor. Now if I was going to complete that chord and put my fingers on every single string, I would reach over here and grab the E at the 8th fret on the bass string. So I'm playing E, G, and B. So we have a nice E minor chord there. But as soon as I move my fingers down to the 5th fret and the 4th fret and grab for that E, we have a different chord altogether. Now, if you go to that Patreon page, you'll see a very in-depth description of what's happening there. But basically what we end up with is an F sharp minor 7 chord, and it's a slash chord. We're putting the E on the bass. That's what's happening there in the 2nd measure. And then we keep going down from there. So I wanted to explain what that crazy looking chord was there in the 2nd measure. All right, what this is going to be about is, first of all, walking you through the tune without any harmony. But this is something that you can do with any piece of music. Very, very simple harmonizations to go along with your melody, just to make things sound fuller and richer. So we'll start off playing the tune. So we get in here and it's a really easy song to play. Notice I'm using multiple fingers to get around. I'm going to come over to the middle string for that last note there, and then starting from the 5th fret, we should have our background E minor drones going with all of this. Sorry, that's the 5th fret I want. That's more like it. Now, even if you were just to simply play it like that, it would sound lovely. Now, I'm just keeping it very, very simple right now and giving you the melody and those background drones, 1 strum per melody note. And we'll get into our rhythmic accompaniment a little bit later on. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to fill out things by adding some harmony. Not a whole bunch of harmony, and you're not really playing full chords here. All we're going to do is add basically 1 note to the melody, and that's going to give us a nice harmony. Those partial chord shapes I showed you before are largely what we're going to be using to do that. Also, I'm bringing in a couple of chords that are full. One of them is going to be an A major chord, which would be a 1, 2, 4 chord for us. But since the capo's at the 1st fret, we don't have to worry about fretting the 1, which I'm sure makes many of you very happy because a lot of people really hate the 1, 2, 4 A major chord. We'll fill in at the 2nd fret on the middle string, and the melody string will be at the 4th fret, and we'll get that in there. Now, A major is not part of the E minor scale. A minor actually is. But that A major, that bright, happy sound, offers a bit of an emotional counterpoint or a counterbalance to the dark nature of this tune, and I think it sounds really, really cool. But also what I'll be doing is throwing in a little bit of the A minor as well, and some other things I'll show you here in just a little bit. So I'll go back over the melody, and we will piece together these parallel harmonies. Starting here, notice I'm using my middle finger because remember, our configuration is middle finger on the melody, index finger on that middle string. So I don't have to do finger switcheroo if I'm used to playing with my thumb or my index finger. I'm going to lead off with the middle finger, so all I have to do is drop the index finger in on the middle string. Sweet. And then just move these together in sync, basically. And then we can go open for that strum there. So wherever you move the melody, you are basically shadowing the melody with what you're doing on the middle string, and it's always going to give you a nice, awesome sounding harmony. Now here, I'm going to switch to my thumb, which I usually use when I'm fretting. When we slide the thumb down to 4, we've got the top of our A major chord. The capo is taking care of the bottom, so just drop in either the index finger or your middle finger to get the A chord. And we have a full chord going on there. Now try and hold down the middle string as long as possible while you do the next part. If you don't have to take your finger off of a chord, leave those fingers down as long as possible so that you can get more sustain out of your chord and also avoid choppiness. We'll do that again. Now, going into the next part, I'm going to pull up a C major chord, and C major is part of the E minor, key of E minor. So we're going to go ahead and walk up. Okay, 8th fret is where our melody is. We're going to use the index finger and the middle finger at the 6th fret, bass string and middle string to get our C major chord. Hold those down as long as you can. And then you can get back down here. We're going to walk up again, bring that C major back in. Now this can be a little tricky here because we're going to end up at a bar 5 for our B5. So we're going to go, the ring finger catches 5, comes down to 4, and then you can slide everything into place here at the 5th fret. Another way of doing that, if you ever watch any of my videos and you see some sort of chord shape or maneuver I'm doing that's just a little weird for you, always look for an alternative to see how things are going to make it easier for you. The note we're looking for when we do this thing, let's go back here again. If reaching down to the A on the melody string is too tough for you, remember that there is an A at the 7th fret, closer to where all the activity is taking place, and you can grab that as well. Now you will cut off part of your C major chord by doing that, but you also won't, injure yourself trying to reach that A lower on the melody string, so you have a couple of options there before we go to the B. And then we go back into our main theme with our harmonies. All right, so we have our tune and we have our harmonies in place. The next thing we're going to take a look at here is how to give this some forward momentum. If we just give one strum per melody note, the song is going to have a halting feel. It's going to stop every single time that melody is sustaining for a long period of time. So what we want to do is we want to do a little something to keep things moving forward. And we're going to use a little bit of plucking on the bass string and on the middle string. We want to avoid the melody string, however, because if you chop that too much, you're actually adding melody notes, and then it will soon become unrecognizable as the tune that everybody knows and loves as Wayfaring Stranger. I'll give you an example. If I wanted to go all whole hog, I could do this. Now Now that is forceful and it does have a lot of forward momentum, but notice how the melody is all of a sudden very, very busy. Remember, the melodies that we play are often tied together with lyrics, and each time you strike that melody string, you're actually adding syllables to the words that are in those lyrics, and they might seem a little busy. So what I like to do is use selective picking or selective strumming, and when that melody is extending out for, say, longer than 2 beats or a beat and a half, that's a good time to not touch the melody because that sustain is part of the song. So what I do when that happens is I just focus my strumming or picking on the bass and on the middle string like this. Notice how that melody stays nice and unspoiled. We don't chop it up with extra strums, but you still have a feeling of perpetual motion. And what I'm really doing is just no particular rhythm, just something that is consistent. So don't worry too much about which string to hit and when. Go from your gut, trust your feelings on it, and give you a sense. You might play it a little bit differently. There are a million ways to play it. It's completely up to you. And that's why I didn't put all of that in the tablature, because I want you to have the melody and I want you to have the chords, but I also want you to be able to get used to creating your own rhythm, because this is something that we should do with all of the pieces that we play. Get a feel for how you want to make this instrument sing for you. All right, so let me go through and show you in slow motion, again, some of the stuff I'm doing on the bass and on the middle string. Now what happens if you do have a chord going on? Do you want to avoid that string? No, actually, because the melody is what we're trying not to chop up. Harmony notes are just fine, so you can continue to use those and they will give you a different flavor as you continue working with it. After a while, that sort of thing will become second nature to you. Just again, it's kind of like when you're in traffic and you're playing with your hands on the steering wheel. You are the drummer for your favorite tune. You're not thinking about bass string, left hand, right hand, middle string, quarter note, 8th note, 16th note. You're just going boop, ba, 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 boom, ba, 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 boom, ba, ba, ba. That rhythm's in you. So just kind of allow yourself to pull from that inner rhythm and do what you think sounds good. If you don't like the way it sounds, try something different. But really, it's up to you, nobody else, how you want to get that rhythm fired up underneath your tune. All right, so let me show you a couple of other things that I'm doing here with the harmonies. We have our parallels, our A major chord, now I could do this. Now if you've got a 1.5 fret below the 2nd fret, you can turn this A major into an A minor, which is perfectly suited for the key of E minor. And it gives you a really nice melancholy sound. Isn't that nice? If you don't have a 1.5 fret, I think the A major sounds fine. It sounds uplifting and it's beautiful. But if you've got that 1.5 fret, you have the ability to also throw in the A minor following the A major, and that change really adds a lot of emotional punch to it. Another thing you can do is you can take this C sharp, which is at the 2nd fret. That's the third note of the A major scale. So when we're thinking about things to work with in A major, we want to think about the A major scale. That's the third note. So if I move that note, C sharp, up to the third fret, which is D, that's the fourth note of the A major scale. That means that I can play an A suspended 4 chord. A suspended chord is where we take the third, which is the middle of any triad, which is 3 notes in a chord. We take that third and we either move it to the fourth note of the scale or we move it to the second note of the scale, and that gives us a suspended chord. Suspended 4 for coming up here, and suspended 2 for simply taking your finger off the middle string and going to the second note of the scale, okay, which is B, and that's what the capo is playing for us right there. So I could do something like this. Suspended 4 chord, or, and that's going to give me a suspended 2 chord, all A major. Suspended 4 going to the third fret, suspended 2 going to the open there. All right, what else have I got? Putting it all together and wrapping it up. Now the intro that we did on those measures, since we're not playing melody there, this is pure harmony in motion. We can use all 3 strings and get a really nice combination of notes and rhythms. And there I just kind of added in a couple of notes from the scale to get us introing into the tune. And then to get out of the tune, I just do a little bit of walking around on the bass string. And just about any note you play on the bass string is going to sound good. So at the very, very end of the tune, and like I said, just about any of those notes will sound good. You'll know when you're ready to bring it to a full and complete stop. Trust your instinct once again, and everything will be just fine. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial on taking Wayfaring Stranger and filling it out, and also how to make it leap forward with great enthusiasm. Until next time, my friends, play on and play a little bit every day. This is Bing Futch. We'll see you next time. Again.